Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Oh, absolutely.
This time, we're heading into a period that I find just endlessly fascinating. The 1950s,
Ah,
the
yes.
golden age
The
of
bubble skirts
poodle skirts, drive-in movies,
and flying saucers.
and of course, we can't forget the flying saucers.
Right.
Yeah. And to get a real feel for what was going on back then, we're going straight to a primary source.
Straight to the source.
A publication from the International Flying Saucer Bureau.
The IFSB.
IFSB.
Yeah.
Now, this wasn't just some, fringe group of
Yeah.
UFO enthusiasts. These guys were serious.
They were dedicated.
They documented everything.
Hmm.
Firsthand accounts, theories,
Theories.
government documents.
A lot of material to go through.
It's really remarkable, like a snapshot of a time when people were trying to figure out, what is going on in the sky?
Yeah, this is before the internet, right?
Yeah.
So there was no quick way to fact check or to compare notes with others.
Oh, that's what-
So they were relying on word of mouth, newspapers, organizations like the IFSB to make sense of it all.
So, are we ready to dive in?
Let's do it.
All right, let's go back to 1947. A pilot named Kenneth Arnold. Now, this is the Big Bang, the flying saucer craze.
This is where it all began.
He's flying over Washington State, and he sees 9 disc-like objects moving at unbelievable speeds that just didn't seem possible with the technology they had back then.
And his description, flying like saucers skipping on water. That's where we get the term.
Yeah, flying saucers.
Right there. Patient zero for the modern UFO phenomenon.
And after Arnold's sighting, it's like the floodgates opened. The IFSB publication is just packed with reports from all over the country. We've got dogfights between unidentified objects over Indiana, a towering figure shaped like a man with glowing eyes in West Virginia.
Well,
It seemed like everyone was seeing something strange in the sky.
it really captured the public imagination.
So, okay, people are seeing these things. What are they thinking? What are the explanations they're coming up with?
Well, you have to remember, this is the 1950s, the Cold War.
Right.
A lot of suspicion, a lot of paranoia.
Yeah. So are they thinking Soviet spies?
Some definitely thought it was advanced Soviet aircraft, but there were other theories too, of course.
Okay. What else were they considering?
Well, some IFSB members were convinced it was extraterrestrial, visitors from other planets. Some even pinpointed specific star systems like Alpha Centauri.
Wow. So even back then, people were entertaining the idea of aliens visiting Earth.
Oh, yeah. It was definitely a hot topic, even if it was on the fringes of what was considered acceptable to talk about.
Yeah, I imagine that was a pretty radical idea for the time. But with all these unexplained sightings, it's got to make you wonder, what else could it be?
Right. It's that classic dilemma. When you eliminate the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth.
So we've got the public. They're buzzing with theories. What about the government? How are they responding to this?
Well, they're not ignoring it, that's for sure. The Air Force launched Project Saucer to investigate these reports. They even set up a special intelligence center at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
So they were taking it seriously.
Seriously enough to dedicate resources to it, though publicly they were downplaying the whole thing.
Trying to keep a lid on it.
Maybe. But behind the scenes, they were collecting and analyzing data, interviewing witnesses, trying to figure out what was really going on.
But I'm guessing they weren't jumping on the alien bandwagon.
Not quite. Most of their explanations were more down to earth.
Literally.
Misidentified aircraft,
Ugh.
weather phenomena, even psychological illusions.
So the classic debunking tactics. But even if they were skeptical, they were still investigating.
That's interesting. It suggests they weren't completely dismissing the possibility that something truly strange was happening. Right. And that tension between public fascination and official skepticism is one of the things that makes this era so intriguing.
Yeah, it really sets the stage for the UFO debate that continues to this day.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got the public, they're seeing things, they're coming up with theories. We've got the Air Force trying to figure out what's real and what's not. But it sounds like even they were struggling to explain everything.
It wasn't easy. They realized they needed more than just anecdotal reports.
Yeah.
So they started providing instruments to trained observers, pilots, scientists, and experimenting with new photographic techniques.
Trying to get some hard evidence.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He even looked into using diffraction grating cameras.
Okay. Now, I gotta admit, I'm not a scientist. What are those?
Well, they're pretty cool, actually. They split light into its component colors, kind of like how astronomers use spectroscopy to study the stars.
Ah, so they were trying to apply some serious science to this whole flying saucer thing.
Absolutely. Trying to bring some rigor to a topic that was often surrounded by speculation and sensationalism.
So we've got the scientists, we've got the Air Force, but there's another perspective that I find particularly fascinating, and that's the religious angle.
Yes. We can't leave out the religious interpretations.
Right. Within the IFSB publication, there's this lecture by a reverend. The title is A Correlation of Flying Saucers and Visitors from Other Planets in the Bible.
Quite a title.
Right. I mean, we're going from the Air Force and scientists to biblical interpretations. It's quite a shift.
It shows you just how wide-ranging the discussions were back then.
So what's the Reverend's take on all this?
Well, he sees these modern sightings through a biblical lens. He interprets descriptions of flying clouds, chariots, and wheels in the Bible as references to spacecraft and extraterrestrial visitors.
Wow. So he's basically saying that ancient scriptures were describing UFOs.
In a way, yes.
Hmm.
He believed those ancient accounts were actually describing encounters with extraterrestrials.
That's pretty radical, even for today. But it's fascinating how people were trying to connect these seemingly inexplicable events to something familiar, something that could offer meaning or understanding in the face of the unknown.
It's a very human response, isn't it? To try to fit new information into our existing frameworks.
Absolutely. It's like these sightings were forcing people to confront the biggest questions about our place in the universe. Questions that science and religion had been grappling with for centuries.
And that search for meaning, that desire to understand the unknown,
Yeah.
is something that we'll continue to explore as we dive deeper into the IFSB's perspective.
You know, it's one thing to talk about these theories and investigations, but
Right.
I keep thinking about the people who actually saw these things.
Absolutely.
I mean, imagine looking up and seeing something you can't explain, something that defies everything you thought you knew about the world.
The IFSB publication is full of those stories.
Oh, yeah.
Ordinary people who had these extraordinary experiences.
And that's what gets me, that human element.
Yeah.
The fear, the excitement, the confusion.
I think that's part of why Reverend's biblical interpretations were so compelling to some people.
Okay.
He was trying to make sense of this new reality.
Yeah.
A reality where maybe we weren't alone in the universe.
Right. Like these sightings were shaking up people's fundamental beliefs
Absolutely.
about our place in the cosmos.
It's like suddenly the heavens weren't so empty anymore.
Yeah. And it's not just the public grappling with this.
Oh, no.
Even the scientists, the ones who were initially skeptical,
Mm-hmm.
some of them started to come around.
Like Dr. J. Allen Hynek.
Right. Dr. Hynek, he was actually involved with Project Saucer, wasn't he?
He was. He started out as a skeptic.
Mm.
The Air Force brought him in to debunk these reports.
But he changed his mind.
Well, he studied the evidence and he realized that some of these cases just couldn't be explained away.
Wow.
So even within the scientific community, there was this growing sense that there might be something real here.
Something truly unexplained. So we've got this push and pull between skepticism and open-mindedness.
Right at the heart of the era.
And the Air Force, they're stuck in the middle.
Yeah.
They're acknowledging the unexplained while trying to reassure everyone that there's no threat. It's a tough balancing act.
Oh, absolutely. And they were investing a lot of resources into investigating these reports. I mean, they even issued public statements saying that these sightings weren't their secret weapons.
Which is kind of weird if you think about it.
Yeah.
Like, why would they even mention that unless people were already speculating about it?
It does make you wonder.
Like they were trying to control the narrative.
Which is something we still see today, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. But back in the 1950s, it was all so new.
A whole new challenge.
And they're trying to figure it out in real time with the whole world watching.
Can't forget the Cold War context either.
Right. Everything's so tense.
All this paranoia about the Soviets.
And now you've got the possibility of aliens in the mix.
Just adds another layer of anxiety.
It's like the flying saucer phenomenon. It just amplified all those Cold War fears.
Projected them onto the sky.
Yeah, and the IFSB, they become this hub for all these different perspectives and anxieties.
Scientists, religious figures, everyday people.
All trying to make sense of it all.
It's quite a mix.
It really is. And it's a reminder that the search for truth, it's rarely straightforward.
Mhm.
There are so many ways of looking at the world.
Absolutely.
And sometimes the most important questions are the ones we can't easily answer.
And the process of searching for those answers, of grappling with the unknown, that's valuable in itself.
So as we head into the final part of our deep dive,
Okay.
what do you think is the most important thing for our listeners to take away from all of this?
Well, I think it's the importance of staying curious.
Curiosity.
Yeah. The IFSB, they remind us that there are multiple ways of looking at the world, whether you're a scientist or a religious scholar or just someone who loves to learn. Don't be afraid to ask questions.
To challenge the status quo.
Exactly.
Okay.
To explore different perspectives, even the ones that seem a little unconventional.
It's amazing, isn't it?
What's that?
Just how this whole flying saucer thing from the 1950s, it still grabs our attention today.
Oh, for sure.
It's like, why are we still so fascinated by these stories?
I think it's that human need to explore,
Yeah.
to understand the universe, our place in it. Those questions the IFSB was wrestling with, they're timeless.
I mean, think about it. The Cold War, the atomic age, the world's changing so fast.
A lot of uncertainty.
And people are looking up to the sky, maybe for answers, for meaning.
Maybe even a little bit of hope.
Yeah, I think you're right.
That IFSB publication, it's not just about sightings and theories.
What is it about then?
It's about human curiosity.
Okay.
That drive to find the truth.
Even when it seems impossible.
Even then, they're challenging the way people thought,
Yeah.
pushing the boundaries.
You know, when I think about Reverend with his biblical interpretations, it's like he was trying to merge science and religion and personal experience.
It was a pretty unique approach.
He was.
He wasn't afraid to think outside the box.
Exactly. And in a way, aren't we all still doing that?
What do you think?
Trying to make sense of the world, looking for patterns, for something that can help us understand it all.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
are we alone in the universe? What's our place in it all? Those are big questions.
And they're not easy to answer.
Not at all.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into this world of 1950s flying saucers,
Yeah.
what do you think? What's the one thing our listeners should take away from all this?
I'd say embrace that curiosity.
That's good.
Like the IFSB, don't be afraid to ask questions, to consider different perspectives.
Yeah, even if they seem strange or a little out there.
Exactly. Keep that spark of wonder alive.
About the universe and our place in it.
Because who knows, maybe by looking back at the past,
Yeah.
we can gain a new understanding of the present.
And maybe even the future.
Maybe so.
Well, on that note, we encourage everyone to keep exploring this topic.
Oh, yeah.
Read the sources, dive into the history, and hey, maybe even do a little stargazing tonight.
You never know what you might see.
Until next time, keep those minds open.
And keep looking up.